Hello. Deor's Lament talks about one of the eternal truth which can save us many times. This too shall pass. Now, Deor's Lament is one of the very few poems in the Old English literature, especially preserved in Exeter Book, which contain the technique of refrain. And the refrain, which is translated into modern English, is that passed over, so can this. So Deor actually recounts the stories of five legendary heroes or people who could overcome their troubles and kind of assures the general public and also himself, because he himself was going through a personal affliction, that whatever that is happening in his life would definitely pass and he'll have better times ahead. The first hero whom he mentions is Wayland. Now, Wayland overcame his troubles which were caused by King Nithal. King Nithal had imprisoned Wayland, and he made him do very excruciating manual labor. But then he escapes, Wayland escapes, he kills the king's sons and also rapes his daughter. Then the second story which Deor mentions is the story of Bedohild. Bedohild is the woman who gets raped by Welland, which is also a very pathetic situation to be in, as the Scop here refers to the poet. Deor says, and she finds herself to be pregnant also. But then she boldly, devised strategies with which she could overcome the situation, according to the poet. That passed over, so can this. The third legendary figure whom Deor tries to talk about is Mathil. Now, Mathil had strong love for goat, and it was so much that he could not really sleep at night. The story is a little bit unclear. Anyway, he concludes that passed over, so can this. Theodoric is again another hero whom he mentions. As a king, he had to face trouble at home for 30 years, but then he stood strong and that passed over, so can this. Then the fifth hero is Yormanik. Yormanik's rule was not quite popular among the subjects. Many men, kind of wanted his rule to end because he was such a strict ruler, but he had to undergo woes and sorrows and troubles that passed over, so can this. Now, he, just like the usual Old English poetry, which moves from personal stories to general conclusions, he says that when people are afflicted by sorrow, they sit and they think that it is the end, that God Almighty is kind of showing grace upon some people and gives sorrow to many people. But then that is not the case, as he says. He says that he wishes to speak something about himself. So the poet, the Scop, the minstrel, reveals himself at the end of the poem. He says, I was the poet of Hethingas. He had a very, wealthy position as the poet of the ruling king. And he did serve him very well, but now he has been replaced by another poet, Harunda. And he is not so happy about this sudden turn of events. He has lost his wealth and fame and glory as the king's poet, but then he pacifies himself and concludes that passed over, so can this.